Yasser Arafat Payne is an associate professor in the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice and the Department of Africana Studies at the University of Delaware. Dr. Payne completed his doctoral work at the Graduate Center, City University of New York, trained as a social personality psychologist.
I'm a social psychologist, but more specifically, I'm a street ethnographer, and I'm very interested in examining the lived experiences, particularly of street-identified populations. Street ethnography, too, or ethnographers, we like to immerse ourselves in local populations, and for me, I'm immersing myself within the lived experiences of men and women, boys and girls that are in the streets.
Dr. Payne's street ethnographic research program examines notions of resilience, structural violence, and gun violence with street-identified Black Americans by drawing on a more unconventional methodological framework entitled Street Participatory Action Research, Street PAR.
When I first met Dr. Yasser Payne, fresh out of the federal prison, he came to me and he said, what I want to do is I want to teach people from your community how to do research. And I'm thinking, why research? He said, because studying the Black and brown people inside of their neighborhoods is a multi-million dollars and even $1 billion industry in some communities. And I think that it's about time that we teach our people how to tell our story. And thus started the, what we call the People's Report, the first Street PAR Family Project.
His work is quite different and unique in that it involves the individuals themselves as opposed to just being, in most cases, sociologists and ethnographers will simply visit a site, interact or observe, I should say, the people that they're studying. Whereas what's different and unique and non-traditional about Dr. Payne's work is that it involves an actual interaction with the individuals who are being worked, who are the subject of the study, and who bring their own perspective as opposed to the kind of middle-class perspectives that the typical academic would have.
And the way he talks about his work and the people involved in it, it's not just academic, it's not just simply policy. He's empowering people to think for themselves. He's empowering people to learn not just about the world, but about their own situation, how it fits together. And he's also empowering people to try to push for change.
Dr. Payne's research program also focuses on Black racial identity, street identity, Black masculinity, economic and educational opportunity, or the impact of structural violence, as well as focuses on gangster rap music and culture.
Many folk, and I'm talking on the liberal side of things now, have lost some level of faith that we can work with them to create real change. And what we're trying to say is you can't create any substantive change unless you work with them, right? Unless we humble ourselves, meet them where they're at, right? Inside their neighborhoods and local communities, right? And they're hungry for change.
But when I look at the people who were really part of that first Street PAR project and where they at now, they're in some of those major institutions that we talked about that needed transforming, like our hospital system, our criminal justice system, inside of our schools, starting our own centers, still being part of that Street PAR family, still trying to build that legacy.
Well, it was an interesting experience to get to know and to interact with these individuals. Again, they're very disadvantaged people living in racially isolated inner city communities, and to get to know them and to see what their perspective is on the world was quite a learning experience for me.
Dr. Payne also completed his second video street ethnographic project in Harlem, New York City, entitled The Streets of Harlem, How Black Men in the Streets Adapt to Structural Violence.
Street PAR is about bringing power back. First of all, it is about power, socio-political power, but it's about restoring power back to the communities.
He's holding up serious mirrors for the rest of us to look into. And he's doing it with grace and with class, with eloquence and with passion. He's doing what needs to be done, and I love him for it.